been answered. I just wanted to say that a prayer's been answered, and but please keep praying, because it looks like I'm nowhere near sort of, life begins at 40. Well, I've been thinking life ends at 40, but keep persevering, and yeah. The thing is that I've been saying for years that even if Caroline Ansell MP was to, I said about 5 years ago, because the illness that I have, which needs, there are so many things that people are so ignorant about. I'm learned. You never stop learning. Life is a constant lesson. But wowee, have I learnt an awful lot. And I've learnt about so many things. And I'm not going to put them all up on here because there are people that don't deserve to see it on here. Because they have taken advantage of vulnerable people. And they've come in the form of, well, the way these covert narcissists do. And they're going to have to learn through their own suffering, as have I. But I don't do these. I tell you what, I don't virtue signal. This is what's happening to me is affecting people everywhere. And it's going to affect the future generations. And yet the establishment have tried to shut me down. And I'm not going to respond to, as Dr. Romani puts it, the toxic, positive, narcissistic comments on my live streams. You have no idea how hard it is. And maybe you've got someone there to help you. I've got no one. I am doing this on my own, completely on my own, okay? I've got a lovely lady witness who's come into this. My partner had initially walked into this, but you've decided to take advantage of the fact that I've been the victim of emotional abuse. And you're using my partner like a pawn. Just go away, learn or go away. Do something to support me or go away. I know. And as for the comment, AGPD, about, your mother's privileged upbringing, you pick bits out. I tell you something. There's a lovely woman that I like. She's gone through some horrible things. I can relate to her. She worked for pittance in the laundrette. She actually reminds me of my mother for a number of reasons. She used to work in the one of the laundrettes, I won't say where, but she did a lot to help people. And she, like my mother, she had a privileged upbringing, if you want to call it that. She went to an all-girls school, Moira House, a famous girls' school in Eastbourne. And she reminded me of my mother, because my mother had a privileged upbringing during the war. She went to JAGS is it Surrey or southeast London? Because my mother was a Londoner, but she was born in Surrey, and Surrey's is like where I was born. It's affluent area. I think Surrey is actually where, because Darren was born in Surrey, isn't that's where that satanic ritual abuse survivor, what's her name? Jeanette Archer, yeah. Some go down a country lane and you'll find they're doing unthinkable things on a farm, murdering and torturing in the most gruesome way mothers and babies and children, and there's a pit. Makes me think of that pit on Guy Camp, the sluice pit with bodies. Anyway, sorry, my head has been in a very dark place for a very, very long time. But you think it's that easy to get housing? It took Sally 35 years to get on the housing register and to get a council house. And yet the last time I saw her in the council before my hell had started, she was in there. And it's one of those things where you wish you'd shown more compassion, but I was going through my hell, but my hell had not even started. It's like I'd gone through hell and torture, but it still hadn't started. And as for getting on the housing list and the bidding, it's a con because someone can jump the queue. Private rented flats, there's high demand and shortage of, So Sue Pocklington, one of the trustees of my late mother's estate, telling me I have to play the system. The system, you have to know how to play the system. The welfare officer, PC Ian, what's his name? PC Ian, because I try and remember people's names. I've forgotten what his name is now. PC Ian something. He said there's no system, and he looked quite tearful. All these people look distressed. You can see the distress in their eyes. I've re-looked at the phone calls to Lorraine Blackwell. Lorraine Blackwell and Dan Saxby, you make my blood boil. You make me more angry than any troll or any sad little loser could, because those people have got nothing better to do. And I think, what a sad existence. Those people need prayers. You're going on someone's live stream, someone who's struggling with life, and you're trying to make it a little bit harder. And I don't care if you're a government agent, if you get paid to do this, if you work for Google. I don't care. I really don't care if you're an order follower. What a sad existence. The Rothschilds. I don't care if you're a Rothschild I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're someone that I know. You've got to be a very sad person, because you're going to end up at those pearly gates with no one's going to be there for you. No one's going to be there for you. You're going to face the final judgment on your own. And that's what makes me so happy, because the torture that I've been suffering all this time, believe me, I know hell. I know suffering. The suffering of the soul. You know those nightmares that you have? The ones that the ones that will suddenly keep you awake at night? Yeah, I've had them. You've got to pray. So even if, let's just say for argument's sake, my partner, let's just say for argument's sake, there's always one person goes on and off, makes me laugh. My partner, like, he could be as the most abusive man in the world. Let's just say for argument's sake, but he's still done the best thing that could have happened to me, because it had to happen. I had to let go of the demonic strongholds. So these covert toxic narcissists who say, leave things in the past, blah, 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 or do the new age BS, leave things in the past. No, that's what makes us who we are. We'll keep coming back to it. I live in the past. I live in my childhood. That's how I've survived. I've got this childhood innocence. It is the most painful, indescribable thing in the world, But I've given up all these demonic strongholds, and I treat everyone the same. You can all be fighting each other, you could all be grifters, you could all be taking advantage of each other. But like, for example, John Wedger, I don't care. He can be MI5, he could be working for the deep state. I've still got his number on my phone, actually. But thanks to John Wedger, I've learned that the Green Man is extremely satanic. And brilliant. Thank you for that. Thank you. That's another one that's really confirmed that something that you think is so innocent, because paganism is a shop front for Satanism. And I've got this thing that the Satanist Freemasons have used to hunt, torture, and bugger boys in woods. This emblem of the Green Man. So just remember that next time you go to your medieval festivals, the way I have, because I saw myself as a bit of a medieval princess when I was a child. I used to draw pictures of castles and romanticize about my Prince Charming, which later would be Adamant. Yeah. And of course, he's a Freemason, and his dad was in the paedophile sex ring, but it's not his fault. He's a real life MK Ultra victim. So when he wrote to me about his demons, I knew. He was writing to me to say he didn't know me from Adam, her. I love my little puns and things. And Adamant was like, by the way, I've got another pun for you. Are You Being Served was on the TV just now. And my mother once served Wendy Richard. My joke is that she said, "Are you being served?" My mum had an amazing life at sea. And I wonder, I'd like to write about that. She met some famous people. She worked for Woman's Magazine. She met Gene Kelly. When she lived in America, she served a famous black actor. And I love telling people these things. But I have to sort of form a close bond with someone before I can do that. And Darren was the next person. This is why it's been so intense, and why people don't understand. They don't want to understand. They don't try. They don't listen. It's amazing how thick and stupid people are, but it's a choice, because everybody has a choice to listen, hear with their heart. In my opinion, narcissism is an illness, but it's also a choice. I've had to learn, like, I was a mature child, I believe, because someone had said to me when I was a child, "I've lost my mother. She meant so much to me." As a child, because I'm no different to how I am now as when I was a child, I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, I am so sorry. Oh." And I'd go away and I'd think about it, because I had nightmares about losing my mother. My mother was my soulmate. I had an acute attachment to my mother. This is why my videos are shadow banned by the government, and why I've always got one person who comes on and they go off and they might come back. You know what? I feel sorry for your children, those of you who are sort of monitoring me, because your children will be suffering from trauma. The deep state wants to keep people in fear, and that you really want to heed my words. So yeah, thank you. Abba Yahweh. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. I'm not going to say too much because I'm sharing it with one person at the moment. And it's that one person out of all the sheep who came to my distress, and she hasn't come Bible bashing towards me. No, she's a realist. That's how I know that Abba Yahweh has sent her to me. Why I'm still here, and why my faith, why I have not said, you know what, FCUKU and done the finger up at the man upstairs. No, because I'm giving all my, cast all your cares upon your Saviour. That's why I'm still here. Anyway, yeah, I bought a load of makeup the other day because I'm going to do battle. I mean, my hair is so greasy. I haven't washed it for nearly 4 weeks. It feels like a grease pan. It's disgusting. I'm filthy dirty right now. I haven't had a proper OCD sort of sheep dip scrub. But yeah, Bryony's still here. Bryony's the same child that she always was. So all these spiritual things, all these things that I know about me and my family and everything, and the people I've met that are so interesting. But you've got to get a real sense of reality, because I'm not virtue signaling. I don't virtue signal. I tell it how it is. And it doesn't surprise me. Although I have to say, it doesn't surprise me, but it never ceases to amaze me how stupid and ignorant people are. People that you would expect to be really intelligent and whatnot, and that's why I've learned something about myself. My whole life I've put myself down because I've been programmed to do so, and why I have talking to yourself is one of the first signs of madness. No, it's not. You're working things out. That's what the mind does. So you'll have two extremes. You'll have, and this is part of the trauma control, it's sort of, you're one thing and you're the utmost in your head. This is how you've been programmed to think. I am the most, it feels horrible saying this, I am the most wonderful, most best looking person in the world. I am so, I put on all this front. I am so wonderful. I treat everyone. I'm so extremely polite. I am this, I am that. I'm putting on everything that people want from me. I people please, and that, and that. And the other part, the other side of you is telling you, the other side of the programming is, you're the worst, most horrible, nasty, fake, narcissistic person, blah, 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 blah. Everything that is, you're ugly, you're horrible, you're stupid, you're nasty, you're jealous. Two extremes. The person that everyone wants to see, wants in a person, and the other one that people don't want in a person. And you got them like that, and it's playing with your head. It's playing with your head, and all you want to do. So you spent your whole life being Princess Diana, but as we know, Princess Diana, behind closed doors, she was just a woman suffering with trauma and pain over her mother, with her husband who was having an affair, and she tried to throw herself down the stairs. And what did Charles do? Don't do that to me again, Diana. You know, you're always doing this. You're always threatening to kill yourself and blah, 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 blah. And she did actually throw herself down the stairs, and she tried to get rid of Harry. And that horrible woman, Diana said about the Queen what I've always felt about the Queen: inhuman. Charles, why aren't you doing anything about her? Oh, leave her. She's always and she nearly killed the baby, Harry. Now I'm just repeating. I don't know if this is factual. I've heard this story, but it doesn't surprise me. My mother, I've got all these little stories. I want a copy of this painting because my sister and I have never gone through the things in my mother's flat. But I know that my mother, because I saw the paintings for myself, my mother did a painting of the Queen during her coronation. My mother and my middle sister were very good at painting from still life, whereas I draw from the imagination. And she sent the Queen a picture of her. It was a very good painting, especially for someone of my mother's age. But that's where my middle sister's taken the talent from my mother when it comes to painting from still life, like a photograph painting. And her lady and the Queen's lady in waiting sent it back to her. My mother still has the letter from the lady in waiting saying which Her Majesty thought you would like to have this, keep this. So actually, she's not a complete and utter you know what. No, but there's something about the Queen I've never, and now that I know what I know, I just can't stand the royal family, whether they're Satanists or not. But yeah, well, with everything that Jeanette Archer has said, well, but anyway, but there are so many things that aren't in the forefront of my thinking that I've told Darren about. So many things that if I was to write them in a book, you'd say, no, you're making that can't be real. Well, I'll somebody like, well, you see what's going on in my everyday life. That's even more bizarre than all the paranormal stuff and Uri Geller and that. But seriously, like, that's why I haven't killed myself. Why so many people are like, why haven't you killed yourself then? You're going through all this stuff. Because I got too many great stories. Why do you think the old lady on the bench, the bag lady, as it were, that I could see myself turning into? Even as a child, I thought, crumbs, I'm going to end up an old bag lady. If my mum dies earlier than she does, and she did die, I'm going to end up that old bag lady on the bench. Listen to what... There was an old man, and I do believe some people lie. Some people are very good at lying, but I believe a lot of what these people tell me. Oh, I was once famous for this, and now they're begging. Yes, I heard about there was a man in the town who was a millionaire or something, but he preferred to sleep rough. Maybe he had OCD. It's quite annoying, this, knowing that there are 274,000 people on the streets, according to Shelter, and all these illegal immigrants are being put up in plush Richmond, and yet, it just makes you wonder, doesn't it? It just makes you wonder, because how people can be so... I've thought to myself, if I was on a parallel universe, would I be wearing a mouth mask? Maybe if my mum was alive, yeah, if things were different. But because of what I've been through and what I've been seeing behind the scenes of what is actually going on, I am not brainwashed by the propaganda. I just think, oh my gosh, how stupid can you be? I went to Walt Disney World when I was 7, and I had Peter Pan programming, because Walt Disney was a 33rd degree Freemason. There are so many things that have made life too interesting for me to kill myself. There's a reason why I'm still here. And you don't want to be going to you look at how thick and how stupid a lot of these millionaires are. I'm sorry, but they sell their souls. Excuse me. I had a chance to do child fashion modeling when I was a child. And I always knew, even as a child, that there was a reason why I didn't want to do it. And I had a chance even as an adult to earn a little bit of money to do a bit of fashion modeling. No. And even my mother said about the drugs and everything. No, 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 no. And would I really want to be around those kind of people? No, they're shallow, they're stupid. Someone once said, I don't mean to be rude about Prince Charles, but they said he's got no sense of reality. Yeah, you only have to walk around Eastbourne. The people you want to talk to, this. Yeah. And why do you think people are being served mental health frauds? Some of the most intelligent people to have graced this planet have been, they don't want this getting out there. People who've won Nobel Prizes. And you want to listen to John Wedger. I think Caroline Stevens is jealous. Oh, yeah, she threatened me. She prayed for me, and then she threatened me, even though I took down the live stream as she asked me to. Even though I just asked her, how do you know the name of this police officer who arrested me on a fraud 3 hours after I recorded a protected criminal threatening to beat me up? Yeah. I think John Wedge has got a lot. He's got a lot of interest. The people he's had on his channel. There's obviously a lot of jealousy. It was in Buckinghamshire, where I was born, that this couple, who won awards for all the wonderful things that they had done for taking in all these vagrants and children, and this and that, and what they did to that woman, Jamaican blooded lady. There's a thing in this country, isn't it, where we're afraid to say the colour of someone's skin. Isn't it stupid? You can't even ask for a black or white coffee. My friend my school friend who's a peripatetic music teacher couldn't say blackboard anymore. Because it's racist. Yeah, I know. There's a reason why I was the daydreamer at primary school, where I was the one who wasn't paying attention, who'd be looking out of the window. Even though I had Walt Disney World programming going on, and I sent postcards to I've got so many funny stories about primary school. My Catholic primary school, that my mum was the only brave one to get to speak out, because the PTA wanted to get rid of him. And she shouted in church, and I was so embarrassed, and I thought, when I grow up, she's so brave, she's amazing. There wasn't a thing my mum couldn't do. She could make our toys, make our clothes. I said that in the eulogy. I've still never been to a wedding. I didn't go to my partner's sister's wedding. I didn't go to my eldest sister's wedding. So I don't know what a wedding is like, but I certainly know what a funeral is like. I vaguely remember my grandmother's funeral. My grandmother would be how old now? Born in 1904, 22, 21, 20, 19. My grandma would be 118. My mother would be 84, and I feel like a child. My grandmother, instead of having a father, my frail, elderly grandmother who had ulcerated legs. So many stories, so many things that I could talk about. I was going to say something about Princess Diana. Yeah. We went up to London we didn't actually go to the funeral, obviously. We were on the street with all the other commoners. And but I remember the hearse going by, and I felt so sorry for those two boys, because I could feel what I would feel about my mother. My mother was my soulmate. And I did exactly as a 27-year-old what Harry did. I put on the wooden. Me and my middle sister, who's living as a man, we we've got trauma attachment issues to our mother. She really wants to list our mother into the hearse in a cardboard box. I had nightmares as a child about losing my mother. I had 2, what I now realize was satanic ritual abuse nightmares. One was about my mother and the Catholic Church. I now realize this. And the nightmares I had about my mother after she died, losing my mother, she was my soulmate. And there's still something I want to do for her if I can recoup my losses, because I've paid thousands of pounds of severe disability pay, and I was hoping to do a tribute, but I didn't want to say anything because I wanted it to be a surprise. But I wanted it would be something that would help physically disabled people in my mother's resting place. But that's a secret for now. Yeah. And me, my mother, and my middle sister, she'll always be my sister. We went to, was it Kensington Gardens, where she grew up, you know. Where she grew up? No, that's Althorpe. Oh, well, anyway. But Mum, we're just the kind of people who attract things happening. And a North American TV crew came and approached us and said, would you like to say a few words? I assume they were American because my mum wanted to know this, but could have been any. I don't know how many American TV channels and stuff there are, but basically my mother, there are certain, it's very weird. It's so, you couldn't make this stuff up. I can remember all the times in my mother's life when I in my life, when I remember my mother crying. One of them was when she told me about the illegal abortion she had in Pennsylvania. The other one was crying about Princess Diana, and all I remember her saying was, something about how they treated her. I was 15. I was suffering from acute depression. My depression, what I mean is my depression had started when I was 15. And then lo and behold, I'm looking at a hearse with the word mummy on it. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, those poor boys. And they were walking behind and I thought, that could be me. And it ended up being me. And there was my mother crying for Princess Diana. I'm the same age. I was born the same year as William and Kate. And yet my mother's old enough to be Princess Diana's mother. My mother had an illegal abortion before Princess Diana was born in Pennsylvania. But I've always had this thing about the meaning of life. I've been into astrology. I've been into loads of things, loads of demonic strongholds in our family. This is why I can kind of relate to an MK Ultra victim, hence Adamant, who wrote to me about his demons. His best friend worked across the road from our house. And I've got loads of stories to tell, but it's amazing how the people who speak the truth, the black sheep of the family, like the MK Ultra victim. I mean, I remember feeling sexualized and not knowing where it was coming from, but I knew it was programming. Because my generation are very sexualized. We're the millennials. I couldn't stand, though. My mum's American friend could never understand, like, when she came over to stay and we had a program on the telly about young people on a night out. And she said, is that what people do in this country? Yeah. and she's like Italian American, born into the mafia in Brooklyn, got a gun in her, side table, completely different culture, whereas our culture is just idiocy, stupidity. They go to certain parts of Europe, they walk around with their willies out and their knockers, and oh, what a shag, get drunk, piss way. That's my generation, and that's people in this country. And the Americans come over and they're like, is this really what people are like here? And Mum and I are like, yes, I know. Disgusting. Yeah, so it's sort of like, I've got working class blood in me, but my generation wanted to go to the nightclubs to get drunk, whereas I wanted to do what my mother's generation did, which is to have a dance. Have a bloody good dance. Have a cup of tea and have a dance. I don't need to get drunk. I don't take drugs. I don't drink. I don't smoke. And the establishment hate me for it because I've got my faculties. So, yeah. You're not going to force anything on me. This is how I'm going to die. Very happily die this way. So, yeah. That's why I can have a really good time without drinking. This is called disassociation. It's called having a good time. My mother moved to America when rock and roll came out. It might have been the same year that it came out, 1956. And she was really shocked when she saw Elvis Presley on the TV. Like, ooh, look at those moves, But yeah, life has been very strange. I mean, there are these strange things like, like, Dave Prowse ringing me up, and I'd be like, the biggest film character of all time is ringing me up, but actually it's an old man. And my mother's worried that it's another dirty old man kind of thing. But, you turn it into an anecdote, and perhaps that's where I can be a bit manipulative. Because I'm only human, I've never even watched Star Wars to this day. And yet, Dave Prowse used to ring me up. I don't know why I gave him my number. Can I, he's on crutches and can I have your number? And I'm like, okay, yeah, okay. I just had this voice, Bryony. Oh, yeah, can I have your number? Yeah, I'm going to this party thingy. And then my sister and I went dressed up to the Here and Now 80s concerts. Life is very strange, though. Life is very strange. The Adam Ant convention, the first Adam Ant convention I went to, you couldn't make this stuff up. Someone said to me, oh, you look like the bloke from Bucks Fizz. And I thought, what? I love Bucks Fizz, but what do you mean? And then and because I ended up looking more and more like a sort of drag queen, I get my hair really, really big, and the 7-inch platforms made me 6'7", so I love the attention. But at the bandstand, when Bucks Fizz were at the bandstand, 5 years ago, I saw my sister after the sex change, and she's always been like a man. But the weird thing is, she had a deep voice, and I'm praying for her. I'm really praying for her in the same way I'm trying to get rid of my demons. But basically, what's his name? One of the men from Bucks Fizz. Which one is it? Forgotten his name. Mike, was it? He said, writing down, all right, love. And I thought, oh, she's not going to like that. And she noted it. She said to me, he called me love, because she really wanted him to she wanted people to see her as a man. And I just thought, thank you, Mike, from Bucks Fizz. Thank you. You know, it's sort of like my sister since the early 80s. My sister had wanted to wear boys' school uniform. So I was just a baby when she started going all tomboy, like at the start of my life. But you know, someone said, like Helen said, I haven't seen Helen since I was 12. Perhaps I would have accepted help from her. If Helen's crazy too. Helen's crazy. She's from New Haven. But for her to call my sister's C words in one of these hellholes where that traveller woman has since taken her life, that one who walked into the road, got hit by a car, came in covered in blood, and her partner was threatening someone with a hammer. And Helen's going up to all these people. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is absolute insanity. Helen's mother is American. Helen's mother was at my eldest sister's wedding, which I didn't go to. She said, your sister's a tyrant. My eldest sister is a landlady. This is what I mean. It's the empath. I'm the empath, the little runt of the litter, sort of, yeah, the one that gets bullied, but is seen as the one that's sort of, the one that I'm the one that's seen as the one that was spoiled, so to speak. Helen, yeah, well, you know what? She's a funny one. When we went to Dieppe when I was 12, she put my elbow in a pile of sick and took a photograph of it. She said she still got the photograph. I don't know. I just don't understand people. They've got, and yet her mum said people think you're mad. I thought, yeah, I'm not surprised. And we were on. She said, "I'll give you time to listen to you." She's manic and does so much talking, but doesn't listen at all. And we go on the seafront, and I'm waiting to speak to her. And then I'm about to open my mouth. This is when I was at Elms Avenue. I go to open my mouth, and she goes up to a young man, a lad who's in his 20s, who's vomiting on the promenade, and she goes up to him, and she brings him over and starts talking to him, and I'm thinking, Helen, I give up. You're crazy. And you see what they're doing. You see on the live stream here, they put these while I'm talking, I'm saying some really interesting things, but I'm shadow banned, and they're just putting these things up here that will redirect you to some pornographic site. Yes, government agent, what a sad little existence you've got. This is my private channel, and anyone can see this, but this is in case people who know me come and go looking for me. It's a message, really. But Helen, she went up to this young man, and this young man had been to prison for stabbing someone with a machete, so he said. But they've got their issues. They take drugs, these youngsters. He started crying at one point. He was drunk, and he got me to he got my hand and went, he said, feel my head. Can you feel that bump? Can you feel that bump on my head? He said, that's where my mum hit me over the head with when I was just a child. And you could see the distress in his eyes. He said, and I've had a child by this woman he said, but when I stabbed this man with a machete, it wasn't my fault. I was and I thought, oh gosh. And Helen's now getting me to feel sorry for this chap. He said he said, I haven't had a childhood. I never had a childhood. He was really rough, you know, rough and ready, a bit like, yeah. And kind of people that I do. I never have a childhood. I'd like to go rock pooling. I said, I love rock pooling. I haven't done that since I was a child. Well, let's go look rock pooling. And Helen said, oh, how wonderful you two. Because at one point we went back to this young man's flat room in Elmsford. Oh, I can't say where it is. No, I can't say where it is. It's only just round the corner from this dear God awful temporary accommodation that I was complaining about, that led to my police beating and trafficking on Beachy Head. Yeah. And yeah, because I was trying to get away from there. And Helen is sort of in her own little world with this. And it's like we're women in our late 30s and we're doing the sort of thing that we would do if we were still 12 years old, which was the last time that I saw Helen. So we're in this young man's flat, or it wasn't a flat, it was like a room. He was living with someone else, another man, and Helen gave him a massage. I started talking about Darren, and they were like, when I said to them that Darren called the police, they were both like this. He is abusing you, Bryony. He is abusing you. But I was very mousy, I felt like I'm always regressing, but that's because no one is helping me to move forward from regression. Like even yesterday, I didn't say this because it's just one of those things, but John Michelle from primary school drove past. He's a boy that even at my Catholic primary school, he was one of those ones that I thought he's going to grow up to be a bad egg. You know, the kind of man you'd want to stay away from. You can see it in childhood. And unfortunately, I've got to be careful what I say, but he was convicted of doing something. My music teacher friend told me yeah. And let's just put it this way. I've already put someone in prison for attempted rape. Yeah, he looks quite scary now. He's muscly and got tattoos all over him. And he drove past and he went, "Hello, Bryony McCarthy." So I basically had the same things that I'm having happen to me now that I had in childhood. And you have to smile about it. You have to laugh, because if you don't laugh, I'm my mother's daughter and I've had to find a way to survive it. And if my mother, who was an amazing woman, who went through amazing things in her life, she made our clothes, she made our toys, and I had the best of both worlds because my grandmother helped pay for my lovely holidays abroad, my lovely Edwardian grandmother. So yeah, I had beautiful new dolls that did all these things that modern dolls can do. And I also had a Victorian, well, it was my mother's doll was the Victorian one, but the one that I bought as a 9-year-old was an Edwardian doll. But my middle sister decided to throw them in plastic bags, right, and get rid of the antique doll cabinet that should have come to me. I'm right now, I'm self-funding a hotel for my safety, and all these years I should have been living in a flat. I've slept rough. I've complained about bed bugs crawling on me. I've been through the entire system, and now I realise all these years that I've put myself down, I'm actually bloody amazing. So yeah, those who point the finger and say that person's a nutter, unless they are an actual disgusting, nasty piece of work degenerate, because I've learned that there are people out there who don't deserve to have a roof over their head, namely the ones that the police are protecting, which is why they tried to stitch me up on a fraud. The police beat me, and then they said, right, we'll say that she beat you, so we'll try and get her a probation officer, and then she'll just go away, and then no one will listen to her because she'll have a criminal record. To them, I say, kiss my great big fat behind. Literally, you can kiss my ass, you know? And I'm going to keep speaking the truth. I've been speaking for nearly an hour. I only meant to speak for about 5 minutes. But perhaps because I'm feeling a little slightly more positive, and I'm not going to say any more other than that. So, yeah, keep the covert narcissists. Well, they just, you know, these very sad people who troll my videos or report them, knowing that I'm suffering when actually I could be a voice. I'm a voice not just for me, but for the future generations, because no one should have to go through what I've been through. I wouldn't put an animal in one of these places. They're dangerous. But I've seen the corruption. I've seen what's going on behind the scenes. And if you want people to listen to you, you need to listen to others. But if you've chosen your narcissistic lifestyle of hoovering people up, I mean, Robert, I'm not being funny, right? You got me that I did you a favor, and you kind of did me a favor as well, but you said I'd be doing you a favor when that little article in the paper thing. When I was at college, I wouldn't do an NVQ. I wouldn't waste thousands of pounds to go to university either, because of the brainwashing system. But I just want to say this, Robert, because you contacted me out of the blue to say, what do you want for your 40th birthday? But you've got this fantasy about me. Here's the irony. And I played up to it and I played along with it. But, you have some idea of the programming that I'm talking about here, because you did me one of the greatest wonderful things when I said that I wanted some thigh-high boots for the Adamant convention, and it was you that knew where they would do them, especially in my size. Drag queen boots. This is before the internet. So you took me to London to, one of those shops, which I frequented so many times. And, but after my mother died, when you saw that I had this hoarding clutter problem, it was so shameful and embarrassed and everything, and you said, well, I'm not going to text me to say, I'm not going to be manipulated. And I thought, because I felt used by you, because the only time you really wanted to see me, you'd say, I will teach you self-defense, but bring the thigh-high boots because they make you feel powerful. But I knew that yes, you men. Yes, I know. And it did make me feel strong, and it did help me. And I am good at self-defense, but I'm not there just to be used whenever you need me. It's like as does everyone else, that I am sick to death. The people pleaser has got me where I am now. I mean, everything that I've been through, and this is it now. This is it. This is fight or flight mode. This is like, come on, Bryony, my whole life has been pinned on this. It's like Satan has taken me by the hand and said, you could have all of this. This is what he did to our Savior. I can give you all the things of the world. And I said, I don't want them. I said them as a child. Yeah, the money would have helped if I'd done modelling, but I thought, no, I'm not part of I am not, as Alan Horvath put it, I'm not of the world, I'm in the world. This is why I don't have friends, not because I'm a nasty person, but because people take advantage of my good nature. Screw them. They can go to hell, literally. I'm doing things for myself. The thing that I'm carrying so much pain, though, I'm hiding it because I have got to. Heaven knows what pain my mother, I always thought maybe my mother doesn't have emotions. How does she cope? She might have been hiding a whole load of pain that came later in the form of a rare cancer. She had to have a hysterectomy, then it came back with a vengeance in the form of a rare cancer. The government uses trauma to control us, to shut us up, and she wouldn't do that. She was outspoken. She was an activist. She spoke out at the anti-fox hunting thing. They're Satanists. Why do you think they wear red coats? They love their blood sports. That's why they killed Princess Diana, because she was anti all of this evil, this Luciferian stuff that the Freemasons love to do. Torture, kill, do everything. Anything goes in their world. They even have I love paedophile stuff going on. This is what these evil, and they will have their place in the lake of fire. I'm here for my mum. So, Robert, the police are the ones who caused me trauma. I had attempted rape. I went to, you got excited, as did I, when I was telling you about how I got this piece of shite in the form of a man trying to get him off me, and I very nearly could have killed him. I did what my mother did at one point, when I don't want to say, and I had a WPC say to me, because I had the barbel in my hand, and I could have killed the chap. And I thought very quickly, and she said, no, that goes back to caveman times. You've managed, and I got him off me, and I was so excited because I realised that the fight or flight had kicked in, and I had these bruises on me all over. And I went to the Saturn Rape Victim Centre in Crawley. And Saturnalia is a satanic god. They name all these things after the Freemasons love their labels, their satanic gods. That's why they name everything, like Nike trainers. Everything is named after a satanic god. I went to the Rape Victim Centre, got them to do swabs and everything. What the police have done to me, I will never, ever, ever, ever recover from. So, Robert, please, you contacted me out of the blue. And I'm not talking about Robert Haig, the housing officer. I'm talking about my fair weather. Yeah, the last thing you messaged to me was, well, I'm moving away now. You keep I thought, well, you've moved so many times. Okay, fair enough. But the only time I've seen you is when you've wanted to get me to wear those thigh-high boots for self-defense, which we did do self-defense, but I felt that I was pleasing you more than I was pleasing myself. Wear them because they'll make you feel strong when we do self-defense. Fair enough. But for you to text me and say, don't manipulate me, I won't be manipulated, and I'm moving away now. Oh my gosh, all that anger inside me. And I thought, you've left me to rot. You and Heather were my only friends, my peripatetic teacher friend. But both of you are fair weather, because Heather was like, I like to be busy, 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 busy. You know, which I knew and I respected. You're always living and learning. You know, I know self-defense, but crumbs, I only had to dig my nails in, and the solicitor that I reported to, she said, you acted in self-defense, but you need to plead. I would suggest you plead guilty. Well, they beat me. They beat me. I still need resolve from this, from all the times the police have beat me and dragged me in handcuffs, and I got all these stories. Anyway, this has been just over an hour now, but I only meant it to be a few minutes long, so I'm just going to leave it at that.